The simpler you keep it, the better, because you're going to have a stronger foot and a stronger body for everything that's further up.
Perfect. We are here today at Helen Halkias Podiatry. Helen has been a podiatrist for 29 years, I believe.
Close enough, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Lovely.
I'm not counting anymore.
Not counting.
Just like
we stop after 20.
After 20, it's like, it's a while.
It's a while.
It's a while.
And so this is your own clinic here in Blackburn.
Yeah.
And it's a Functional Podiatry Health Centre, providing expert diagnosis and treatment for foot and ankle conditions tailored to people of all ages, lifestyles, with a functional and personalised approach focused on natural foot health. So what does functional podiatry somewhat mean for you, Helen?
It's getting away from the generic pronation, supination, and it's actually looking at how a foot functions, basically making sure that it works, making sure that it functions. So it's not just shape, it's not looks, it's can it get in and out of positions, can it function well, which means can you do what you want to do, stand, exercise, walk without discomfort and efficiently, basically. And it's trying to move towards that as much as we can. Yeah, looking at, all facets of that, looking at footwear and really trying to look at root cause, basically. So if we have got pain, so rather than band-aiding it, and
which is still helpful and
which
probably
can be helpful and has a
necessary
place,
at times.
but actually making sure that we're addressing the root cause and where and why where's that dysfunction coming from, and what can we do to address the underlying cause.
Great.
So yeah, that's the kind of basis of it, I guess.
I think that leads us into somewhat our first question for today in terms of good foot posture.
Yeah.
And what does that mean in terms of good foot posture?
So it's functional. So what does functional mean? It basically means it's strong, ideally, it's adaptable, and it's comfortable. Okay. But then I guess that all equates to function, right? So if they're all of those things, it will function well. Because if you're not in pain and it's quite strong and it's adaptable, then ideally function will follow.
So function might be like the overarching kind of umbrella,
idea,
and then those three categories.
Three things are,
and surely those things change age dependent and activity dependent as well. So what might strong look like? So
strong ideally looks like that you can splay your toes. So something as simple as that. So being able to splay your toes would mean that you can access the intrinsic muscles of the foot.
Okay. Intrinsic?
So, intrinsics are ones that are just in the foot.
Okay.
They're not from the leg and attaching to the foot.
Yes.
They are only in the foot.
Only in the foot.
Only in the foot. And second of all, that you've got the capacity to move them independently, and then we can work on strength. So toe strength is really important, and being able to just move your toes and move those muscles is a pretty good measure of a strong foot generally. And then we can
that would make it adaptable as well to different environments.
So then we move into being able to pronate and supinate. So you don't want something that's rigid.
Sorry, what's pronate and supinate
so
for us?
Basically, it's this movement.
The foot rolls inwards.
Foot rolls in. And we need to be able to pronate. Pronation is the foot's capacity to absorb shock. So
sounds very important.
Makes it the mobile adapter. So it's the unlocking mechanism of the foot. So when we hit the ground, we want to pronate on ground contact, and then we want to supinate, which is the opposite, which is the foot sort of locking out, generally arch increasing in height and locking, becoming this rigid lever, and then we're propelling off a nice rigid strong foot. The final thing is you want to be able to get in and out of both those positions, pronation and supination, whilst maintaining your foot tripod. So your foot tripod. So this is kind of the ideal foot posture. So a foot tripod is the underneath of the big toe. So if we're kind of looking right kind of about there.
Okay.
And then the base of the fifth toe.
Yes.
So you imagine across there. And then the centre of your heel. So you imagine a triangle like that as a tripod. So if my tripod is nice and wide, I have more stability on the inner side or the medial side, and I have more stability on the lateral side. If my tripod is like that, I'm not going to have as much stability that way. So we kind of pivot a ring around that spot ideally, and that's our foot tripod. So if you can do that, in and out of pronation, splay your toes, move them, you've probably got a pretty good base. Pretty good basis support.
So if our head was over our heels, and let's actually bring it back to heels though. Yeah. So why do so many shoes have a heel, and is it bad for me if I have a heel in my shoe, or is it okay to sometimes have a heel?
There's a couple of theories that I think are generally accepted, because you hear stuff and you're like, is that true, or is that just a wise tale? So one of the theories is that it can be traced back to the times where we had horses, the equestrians, right? So people were getting around on horses.
Okay.
And if you think about a horse and a stirrup, a heel locks you in place.
Ah.
So it stops you sliding out. Okay.
Okay.
So for that, it's actually, it makes sense.
Safety.
Okay.
Yeah.
It
Fall
locks
off
you
a
in.
horse.
Exactly. You want to fall off a horse, you want to slide out of the stirrup. So that's one theory about where it started. And times where streets were perhaps not as clean, they were muddy and they were kind of a little bit non-sanitary. And nobility meant that you could have a higher heel so your clothes didn't get dirty. So it then became a sign of status.
Oh, status to have heels.
Yeah. So I think it became like a functional thing first, like it made sense to do that if you had a horse. Then it became a bit of a higher class.
And then everyone wants
And then
to be
I think
high class.
fashion took over.
Yes.
I think. And so then this became the kind of, this is the way that we should function, this is the way we should get around. And then I guess people just stopped questioning it. Went, well, that's how it's done. That's where they came from. Now they're kind of here and they've been here for a really long time. Is it okay sometimes? Yeah, because I think what I'm trying to teach people is adaptability, that the foot is adaptable. When it becomes the day-to-day stuff though, that causes permanent changes. It's no longer an occasional thing in a position that you're getting into and then getting out of. It becomes your baseline. And then it becomes very difficult to get out of that. And this is where the problem is for people. So a functional shoe or a barefoot shoe is a zero drop by definition. That's what they are. So they're same height at the front and at the back. There is no rise at the back of it.
Yes.
It is so even distribution of load from the front to the back. You're not tilted up even a little bit. And
so we've got our steady tripod, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. If we're wearing heels all the time, you mentioned that could shift our centre of mass.
Moves it forward, okay?
And why is that bad, or what could that do to us?
Well, it changes your knees, for starters. So
Okay.
if you're shifting forward, your knees will have to soften in response to that. Otherwise, you're locking your knees. You just do it. You stand up and you're shifting forward. You have to do that. Otherwise, you're locking your knees in place. You feel like that Gina Ricciardum happening when you're like hyperextending your knees.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Your pelvis tilts forward. That's one of the biggest things. So your pelvis will tilt forward in that forward-leaning posture. So when you're leaning forward and your pelvis is tilting forward, that lower back curvature is increased. So compressing. I stand up and I do this.
Yep.
I'm here and I'm doing this. So this
Okay.
is.
So we've got an increased like lumbar lordosis, that curvature in the lower back.
So I'm tilting forward. I'm doing this.
We've got our knees that are constantly a little bit just flexed.
A little bit flexed.
Yes.
And so your upper body will have to compensate for that as well. Your head generally will tilt in response to that because you really want to look up, right? So your body wants to keep you looking forward.
Yes.
So if I'm flat, I don't have to really, I'm stacked correctly. Everything is aligned where it's meant to be. If I'm this, everything needs to then shift in order to compensate for that. So everything is recalibrated to do it. Yes, it can do it. Is it somewhere where we want to stay? No. To get in and out of that position is fine. To be in it and stay in it means that things up the chain will adapt and stay in that position. So fascia will...
So fascia being the connective tissue that's a little bit like glad wrap that goes all around the body.
All around the body.
Everywhere.
So plantar fascia is one of the main ones that everyone will know about because everyone hears about plantar fasciitis.
Yes.
So obviously fascia in the foot, it starts at the sole of the foot. But those fascial lines continue all the way up the body. And if I'm understanding and you know more about this, like right up to the head.
Yeah, we've got a fascial connection all the way from the plantar fascia, so from the sole of the foot, up the back line of the body, so through the calves, through the bottom, all the way up, actually here to our eyebrow ridge.
There you go.
That's where it stops. So something like foot posture could definitely impact our head, and that might seem like quite a long bow to draw. But if we're constantly shifting forwards and that's due to our foot posture, then that can definitely add strain there through the neck and cause that familiar tension type headache or a cervicogenic one.
There you go. Body will just continue to, delegate further up. So the pressure is recalibrated, the posture is recalibrated, it just keeps sending it up and everything adapts. And because we get the job done, I think we think for a long time that it's not having any impact.
Yes.
But it does. And sometimes it takes many, 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 many years for things to surface, to show.
Right.
It's not a terrible thing to have a heel. There is times and places. You just don't want that to be your baseline, where you're stuck in that position constantly, because that will have lasting impacts.
What does it look like if we go from I don't know, a 20 mil heel?
Depends what people are used to. Yeah, so
drop.
it's again, because you have to look at ankle flexibility as well, because that's one of the things that also I should have mentioned gets impacted when we're constantly heel. Like when your calves are shortened, because you're like this, the calf gets shorter.
Right, so when the foot is constantly somewhat
Elevated
pointing.
like this.
Yeah.
It's elevated. The posterior chain, the back, gets shortened. So getting access to full ankle range of motion becomes very difficult.
And we can't really go from 20 mil to 0 like this and then go for a 20k walk and be okay with it, right?
No, we have to do it slowly. And for some people, it's really slowly because they're very sensitive to changes. And others, can do it more quickly and it's going to be fine. Everyone's journey is different. So you just got to meet people where they're at, see what they've been in, and basically what they want to get to too, because you have to meet them with their expectations. Like, sometimes you don't need to get them to 0 drop. It's an individual thing for everyone, but ideally you want to be able to walk bare feet, because that's the other thing. If you can't be without a heel, walking barefoot becomes very difficult.
Yeah.
And so the other thing is, if you're in a heel as well, I should have mentioned that you get forefoot pressure. So you're really...
So forefoot is the front of the foot?
Yeah, your front of your foot.
Yep.
So you're not accessing, again, that tripod, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's this kind of this bottom of the heel, center of the heel is not having an even distribution of load. It's like this. So there's excessive load on the front, and it really should be even here, here, here. There's 3 points. There shouldn't be any more or less load on any one of those points at any one time. We should just function around there, and then we're nice and stable, nice and even, nice and...
And then when we're stable and when we're balanced, that puts the other muscles in the surrounding area and up the chain as well at ease.
Yeah.
Because they're not like,
they're
gotta
not
hold
racing.
on, Captain. It's not.
We're not racing. We're not scared. It's everything feels stable. Everything knows that it has its time and its sequence, and it functions.
Helen, is there anything else you'd like to add in?
We don't want to demonise shoes. There's a lot of misinformation out there around shoes. I think the mainstream the shoe department kind of, you've got to remember their goal is to make things easy. So there's this marketing thing is if something feels comfortable.
The goal of the mainstream shoe department is to make it feel easy.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It makes it feel comfortable, easy. We don't feel pain. We don't feel pressure. It's easy to toe off. It's easy to do those things. So they implement a lot of features into their shoes for ease, right? And there's a time and a place where having a little bit of additional help is good. But when that becomes our baseline, and this is my kind of big thing, when people come into me and their baseline is a really highly cushioned shoe with a high stack height, and they're using that just to get around, do their normal day-to-day stuff, and they're still getting foot pain, or they're still getting, knee pain, shin pain, hip pain, whatever. And then they say, now I'm preparing to go do a Camino. What shoe do I need? It's like, well, you're kind of pulling out all the big guns in terms of stability and cushioning, and this is causing pain as it is.
So because we can't go anywhere from that because it's already
we're
very
kind of really
comfortable.
maxed out. We're sort of maxed out in terms of stability and cushioning and all that. So we really want to build capacity back into the foot and say, well, we want to make this foot be able to tolerate being comfortable. It's almost like using really high strong painkiller drugs for a headache. Yeah. So if you're pulling out all those big guns and then that stops working, it's like, where do we go from here? It's a scary place to be.
It is a scary place
kind
to
of
be.
save those big features of like the exaggerated metatarsal rockers. The shoes that kind of roll you forward.
Yes.
Okay. Really easy. Yeah. Really, it's a very easy to wear those because you just roll forward. You don't actually have to use a lot of power to toe off. So
sort of push off the ground when you say toe off.
Yes. So push off the ground and roll yourself forward. They kind of roll you forward. There's that forward lean in them. So it's a very easy momentum to roll forward in those. So people go, oh, it's like, I can, walk so much faster and easier and quicker and I'm not as tired. Yeah. Again, they've been designed that way because they've got like a little edge. Makes you quicker, makes you easier, makes it... Yeah.
But now we've reduced our capacity.
And
we've become deconditioned.
Exactly.
And that's
so
why we need to
doing
chat
that
to a
every single
professional about that.
And then the professional says, get rid of the shoes. And they're looking at you going, but why? Because we want to build capacity. Comfort can be dangerous if that's our baseline.
Yes.
And we just exist in the comfort. So we want to feel the body, and the foot in particular, it's a major sensory organ. It has a lot of receptors on the bottom of the foot. It is designed that way to feed information into the body and the brain about where we are in time and space. So constantly being in a cushion thick sole it numbs that out. Body's actually in a more stressed state, not knowing where it is. And if you need a specific shoe for a specific function, you can do that. But day to day, the simpler you keep it, the better. Because you're going to have a stronger foot and a stronger body for everything that's further up.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.